I bought this. Oh, this is actually not even the original case, but I bought this at, this is the original case right here. Bought it at, again, EB Games, back when they used to sell used PC games for $3. Problem is, and I find this with a lot of these games where there are multiple discs and they're in cases like this, they come loose. A lot of times these little, I don't know what you want to call them, pedals or something, they break off and they don't really do a good job of holding the disc. So I don't know if you can see, but this disc is kind of scratched to hell. It's got a lot of gouges in it. And when I tried playing it, it kind of froze in some places, so I went to the, wide world of illegal downloads and downloaded it, just so I could play it, just so I can get a working version. I don't know, maybe some people have problems with that, but, I do own the game, and I just didn't want to miss out on it just because of some crappy packaging. So that's the story behind that. Here's another version of Zork Nemesis that I own. And again, with these discs, they don't stay in and these cases get cracked, so a lot of my cases have cracks in them. I try to replace them whenever I can, but you don't really see too many CD cases just floating around that you can switch out, especially now that everything's sort of, downloadable. Yeah, so again, I own multiple copies of these games. Here's another version of Circle of Blood. Already talked about that. Here's the 11th Hour. Never played it. It's a sequel to The Seventh Guest, which I used to own, and I used to own a pretty nice copy of it. But I started playing it, and it didn't really work well with my computer at the time. It's a pretty old game, and it just had issues, so I just never got into it, which is why I haven't played the 11th Hour still. Here's Gabriel Knight. Here we have King's Quest 7, The Princess Bride. I've actually never played any of the King's Quest games. There's, quite a few, I don't know, I don't really want to say gaping holes, but I guess I already said it, so there you go. There's a few gaping holes in my, my experience with adventure games. I haven't played any King's Quest games. I haven't played any Discworld games. Here we have Toonstruck, and I have the manual floating around somewhere, but, it's kind of a crazy game. It kind of reminds me of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, because it has live actors interacting with cartoon characters, and they're sort of not adult themed. I mean, it's not porn, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's a Saturday morning cartoon that a kid would watch. But it has, what's his name, Doc Brown in it. Another copy of The Beast Within. Another Monkey Island, Escape from Monkey Island. A lot of times with these, I'll own the disc, the case-only version first, and then I'll find it in a box somewhere and pick it up. But these days, I usually, unless it's really cheap, I avoid the disc version altogether. Here we have The Adventures of Willie Beamish. This is a very rare game. I own the disc because it is impossible for me to find the box for this, the boxed version. I can find the boxed version, but it's the floppy version. I have yet to see a boxed disc version anywhere, except for the Sega CD version, which I used to own back when I owned a Sega CD. That was actually my first experience with this game. It's just great. It's an awesome game. It has that great, 2D style animation. It has a great story. It has a lot of funny lines. And a lot of these games, they look like they're made for kids, but they do have a lot of adult humor. Seems like back in the 90s, you could get away with a lot of that sort of thing. Anyone who watched, Rocko's Modern Life know what I'm talking about. They could put games in there called Spank the Monkey, and yet, little kids would be watching that, and it'd be totally cool, and, no one would think twice. So this is sort of the same thing. This is, again, if you're going to play this game, I highly recommend the disc version. The voices in this are just great. The floppy version, which you can find everywhere, just doesn't hold a candle to it. I actually have another video up here on my account of me playing some of this game, so if you want, you can check that out. Here we have Full Throttle. On this at a flea market. The guy actually wanted quite a bit for it. I think I talked him down to $6 or so, which is a bit more than I want to pay just for the the jewel case version. But I'd never played Full Throttle when it first came out, and I'm a big fan of these LucasArts games, and so I really wanted to play it. So I just went ahead and paid the money for it. and it's great game. Broken Sword 2, The Smoking Mirror. A lot of people say it's not as good as the first. I would agree to a certain degree, but I did think that there were some funnier bits in this. There's a scene with this very primitive tribe, and there's a few items that you can hand them out of your inventory that just gets some pretty humorous responses. I believe there's like a sexy pair of underwear you can give them, and it's just the reaction you get is kind of priceless. So I definitely enjoy that game in its own right. And there's also a trick, you can look it up on YouTube, where when you play as Nico, you can actually, to get past one of the puzzles, you can actually have her flash her breasts at the puzzle, and it automatically solves. It's kind of funny. Here we have Shivers again, another copy of that. And last but not least, we have again The Curse of Monkey Island. What you don't see here in between making these videos while I was waiting for them to load on my computer, like I said, I bought the big box version of The Longest Journey, and I also bought Beavis and Butthead Virtual Stupidity, which, you know, kind of goes along with the whole time period. You know, I was really big into Beavis and Butthead back when I was a youngin', and the Virtual Stupidity game is actually a great adventure game in its own right, you know, beyond being a Beavis and Butthead game. So that's basically it. I do know that there's some things missing that I should have. I know there's at least one other Indiana Jones game I should have. I know I should have Day of the Tentacle. And it would be awesome to get the triangular shaped box version of that, but that's pretty rare. Also missing Grim Fandango, which is a great LucasArts game. I actually have a version of it that I can't show you, but I hope to someday acquire one. Those sell for quite a bit on eBay, and it's hard to find a good deal on it. Like I said, there's a limit to what I'll pay. So why do I collect these games? Well, I guess the best way to explain it would be that you know, I've been a gamer all my life, and I remember when I was a young kid, I really wanted to get into PC gaming, but you know, this was sort of the early days of the PC, and they were really expensive. I mean, you can't just go to a store these days and you know, plop down $300 and have yourself a semi-decent, you know, desktop system. But I remember when I finally convinced them into getting a computer, and I had this really nice Gateway picked out, and you know, that kind of tells you how long ago this was, where Gateway was considered an actual good system and not a piece of crap like they are today. But I had it all picked out, but it rang in at around $2,000. My parents were not about to have it, so they found a $1,000 compact in a CompUSA flyer, and you know, $1,000 might seem like a lot today for a computer, but back then, you know, that was cheap. That was a great deal. So we waited in line. It might have been Black Friday, I'm not even sure, but they picked it up. It was sort of one of those computers that had, you know, the computer was the actual base to the monitor, and then the monitor sat on top. You know, like a lot of school systems used to use back in the day. So it was, to put it kindly, a piece of crap. I think it was like 99 megahertz. There was maybe, I don't know, 8 megabytes of memory. I don't know, it wasn't very much. And you know, and for $1,000, it seems like a total rip-off now, but back then that was, you know, that was on sale. So you know, so sort of limited in what I could play. I remember I bought Resident Evil in preparation of getting a computer, and there was no way that thing was playing Resident Evil. I actually bought the Men in Black game. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but it was sort of a third-person action-adventure game. It barely ran that. I actually had to give up on the game halfway through because it was just slowing down way too much. So, you know, I was very limited in what I could play, and a lot of what I could play were these point-and-click adventure games. So, you know, in my mind, it was better than nothing. So that's sort of what got me into that. These days I play it on this gigantic piece of crap. It's a IBM ThinkPad. I'm not 100% sure what the specs are off the top of my head, but it's got a Pentium 2 It pretty much plays the really old games and some of the newer old games, so it's kind of a cool system in that it kind of meets all those needs. It runs Windows 98, has a dial-up modem, but you know, it still works pretty well. I did have a soda explode on me, and there's some discoloration in the screen. I think it might have gotten into some of the electronics and kind of damaged it a bit, but you know, I paid $50 for this laptop, so they're easily replaceable. It's kind of a weird thing to go from paying $1,000 for a gigantic desktop computer that's probably 10 times slower than this thing, and I only paid $50 for this. It smelled like cigarette smoke, but hey, what are you gonna do? But it works quite well, and there you have it. That's my entire collection. I hope you enjoyed this, and hope it brought back some good memories. And go ahead and leave a comment. Talk about some of your favorite adventure games. Let me know what I'm missing. And hey, if you have some boxed versions of some games that I don't have, feel free to PM me. I might be interested in buying them. Alright, thanks. Alright, now there's one more thing I wanted to make a comment on. And it's one of the things that I really enjoy about these older games compared to games you know, that we see today. And that's sort of the content that comes with these games. For instance, we'll take a look at Gabriel Knight 3 here, and you'll see when I open this up, it comes with a lot of stuff that you don't really see anymore. You know, I mean, look at this, a $10 rebate for the VHS or DVD box set of Nightmare on Elm Street. Win software worth $1,000. You don't really see that sort of thing too much anymore. It also came with a comic book. I don't know if you can see that little comic book. You know, so that's pretty cool. Manual, you know, it's pretty thick. It's got a lot in it. It's pretty in depth. There's a introduction, which you don't see anymore. Usually when you get manuals, it just has sort of the basics. It doesn't really give you much of a backstory or, you know, sort of setting up the overall arc of the story. Another good example is Zork Nemesis. They had this, I guess Activision had a game-a-thon. I'm not really sure what that's about, but it has some ads for, you know, other games. And it was always cool to kind of check out, you know, other games. And I'm sure certain companies do that still to a certain degree, but you don't really see it too much. But here's the manual. I mean, just look at this thing. You open it up. It's got a, you know, full color map right there. It's got all these sort of logs, these journal entries. It really sets up the game. I mean, look at this, page after page. There's documents. So it's really, you know, really cool to sort of, you know, read all this. So even when you weren't playing the game, you could kind of, you know, kick back and, I mean, look at these illustrations. I mean, they're pretty amazing. You could kick back and sort of read through them, and it was just kind of fun. And a lot of it, I'm sure, played into the game while you played it. I mean, look at, I noticed this. These numbers here, 10, 1, 9, 6, 12. No idea what that means offhand. It's been a little while since I played this game, but I'm sure it has something to do with the, you know, I'm sure it plays a part in the actual game. I mean, look at that. It's just kind of cool, you know, kind of gets you in the mood for playing the game. Now, I mean, compare that, you know, to today, where, you know, here's my Call of Duty Black Ops manual. This thing's freaking 9 pages. You know, pretty much just shows you the controls, and that's it. Sets you up with a few of the game types. Done. You know, not very exciting. In fact, I read an article recently that says most developers are sort of pushing towards eliminating the manual altogether. Which, you know, I see the benefits of it. You know, I definitely do. Don't get me wrong, but I just sort of miss the days of sort of immersing yourself in the whole, I don't know, the whole story behind the game. Seems to be lacking these days. So that's it.